Good afternoon, everybody. Good
Hello.
afternoon, Alex. How are you?
Hi. I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
Okay. Did you have a nice break Easter time?
Yes, although it seems like things haven't changed because it's not like we have gone anywhere, but yes, it was a nice, pleasant Easter for me.
Yes. Well,
Yes,
yeah, a very different,
a
a
different
very different
Easter.
Easter. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it seemed like a long Easter actually because
Yes,
yeah, because we weren't working. Yes, and you're spending more time in the house. It did seem like quite a long break.
it did. It
Um,
definitely did. I agree.
because our last webinar was on Friday, wasn't it? And it seemed like it's been like a week or so, but it's only like 3 days, you know. So, guys, sorry, we are digressing a bit. I'm Richard. This is Alex. It's 12 o'clock on a Tuesday, and if it's 12 o'clock, it must be a business webinar.
Definitely.
Um, Before we start the webinar, we'll just introduce ourselves quickly for you guys that don't know us, maybe for you guys that do know us also. So my name is Richard. I'm originally from Wales, and I'm a corporate teacher in Milan at the school in Meravili. And as a corporate teacher, I, of course, teach a lot of companies in and around Milan. And also, I teach sometimes at the school. And we also do courses online.
Mm-hmm.
I have lived in Italy now for 4.5, 5 years. And previously, I lived in Spain and Slovakia. And when I lived in Britain, I spent a long time living in London. Okay, Alex, what about you?
Okay, so my name's Alex. Nice to meet you guys. I am bilingual, so I am half American and half Italian. I also live in Milan, and oh, hi, Deborah. It's nice to see you again. Well, as probably Deborah by now knows, I also am a corporate teacher, and as Richard, I teach in the School of Milano Meravigli. I focus mainly on companies, so that means going to companies or having in-company courses at the school. I have a background in marketing, and I guess I've said everything about me.
Okay. Did you like marketing?
Yeah, I did. I did.
Yeah?
Yeah, and I
Okay.
find I actually dealt with marketing and communication, a lot of coaching and training, especially with sales accounts. So I got a view of the sales world and the marketing and communication world.
Yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
Cool. Okay. Yes, Deborah. Sorry, I wasn't ignoring you. I was just waiting for Alex to finish what she was saying. So, Deborah, nice that you've joined us again.
Definitely.
And we hope that you had a nice Easter. Like we said, it was a very different Easter for everybody this year. So I hope you did have a nice time and you relaxed and everything. Okay, so as we said, we do. And here's Alessia. Very good.
Oh, lovely. So nice to see
Alessia,
you.
you're late. You're late this morning, this afternoon. We've been waiting for you. Okay, guys, nice that you've joined us again. Okay, so as we said, it's 12 o'clock or just after 12, so it's time for a business focus. And today we have chosen telephoning, and we've chosen telephoning at intermediate level, okay, which I think is a nice introduction to this particular subject. Yeah. So I hope it will be useful for you. As you guys know, please let us know who you are, where you are listening from, maybe your jobs, your occupations, and any questions that you have during the webinar. Please ask, interrupt us. It's not a problem. Yes, it's nice that you do join in with me and Alex. So we do appreciate it. Okay, shall we have a look at what we're going to look at?
Yes, let's start. So today we're going to look at ways to introduce yourself. Again, the topic is telephoning. So we will be looking at specific language we can use to introduce ourselves on the phone. Also, we're going to look at ways to say why you're calling, so giving a reason for the call, and responding to requests.
Okay.
So let's start. First of all, let's look at some questions. So Richard, what kind of telephone calls do you make?
Basically, I think I could split it into about 2 or 3 different categories. I use the telephone to make personal calls, of course. I have a lot of family living in Britain, so I keep in touch with my family and friends normally by using the telephone, sometimes video conferencing like we do here. Then I use the telephone for work. Yes. For example, guys, sometimes I need to speak to Alex. I use the telephone, or sometimes we need to speak to other teachers or my bosses, our bosses. And then I've put it into like a category like how I have to organize myself a little bit. Yeah. So of course I use the telephone maybe to make inquiries, yes, about particular things. I also use the telephone to make appointments. If I need to make a doctor's appointment or a dentist appointment. So my sort of personal organization, yes. Things
about
that we...
About the word you used, I was just wanted to point out the word you use, inquiry. Like we saw last week, it can be, it may have 2 different spellings with an E, so ENQUIRY, or I, so INQUIRY.
Why? It's okay. It's hard to spell when you have to think like that. Yes.
Right. Something's missing.
My spelling is terrible. Anyway, I always get the students when I write something on the whiteboard. I always say to them, when you go home, please check the spelling. Yes, please.
Yeah, it's your homework. But anyways, just to point out that you may find this word both with an E and an I. I think in the US, the I version is more common. But yes, they basically mean to ask. It's a formal way to request information, to make an inquiry.
Okay, fantastic. And so what about you, Alex? The same question to you. Do you make any different kinds of telephone calls?
No, I agree with the division between personal, work, and organizational, especially in these days that we're living. I find myself using the phone to commission things. So, for example, to order or to purchase online, to purchase on the phone, of course, to organize deliveries or shipments. So definitely there is a specific way of using the phone to perform activities and to asking for updates or progress on a specific request that you have done. So we will probably be looking at some language that we can apply in these situations.
No, I think that's a really good point. I didn't even think about that, to be honest. But I think you've made a very good point there because I was just generalizing. But as Alex said, now with what's happened, I think we are using the telephone to make calls that maybe we wouldn't have had done beforehand. Yes, and like
Mm-hmm.
Alex said, maybe she's organizing her life in a different way with the telephone, like you say, when we all need to get food and things like that. So that's a very good point. um Second question, Alex, to you: how often do you use the telephone for business then?
Like you were saying, we basically use the phone daily to organize classes, to update our our bosses, our superiors, to to get in touch with our colleagues and let them know what we're doing. So I think quite frequently, yes.
Okay.
How about
um
you? Do you agree?
yeah, same here. um Normally I would use the telephone maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a day, for example, for business. Now more often
Mm-hmm.
because we are not seeing people face to face as such. Yes, where sometimes we can. I'll use the verb to conduct. We conduct our business on a daily basis, normally more face to face. Yes, but of course
Definitely.
now with what's happened, then I am using the telephone more for business. I would say about maybe double to what I was using it for before, as a rough sort of, as an estimate. Yeah.
I am curious to know for the people who are listening to us and for Deborah and Alessia, how has your use of the phone changed with the current situation? Are you able to work from home? How do you use the phone for business? Has it increased? Has it changed? Just something about you.
Yeah, guys, tell us tell us what you think. Yeah, and give us some ideas. Fantastic. Um, okay. Alex, I'm going to ask you the next question. I'm going to change it as well slightly. I'm going to ask you, how do you prepare for telephone calls, and do you prepare for telephone calls?
I was born prepared. Seriously, I always prepare things. I hate
Yeah.
the feeling of finding myself unprepared. So, especially if I have to conduct a phone call, let's say, for example, about the deliveries or anything, I just try to have the information ready. So I might write down an order number or the name of the person I need to contact. Maybe if there is a specific time, or I'd rather have things on paper close to me. Maybe have a pencil that I can scribble down stuff. Scribble means to write very quickly. So yeah, I definitely prepare.
Okay. We just got a comment from Deborah. which is nice. Thank you, Deborah. She says she usually uses telephones to call colleagues. Okay, very similar to us. Suppliers. Okay, great. Yeah, from a business aspect, or consultants. Okay, all right, very similar to us. Yes, depending on the telephone call I'm making, I do things very similar to Alex. If it's a company that I've rang before, I might have notes from the previous conversation. If it's a company I'm ringing for the first time, or if it's a person I'm ringing for the first time, I might have made myself some notes on maybe what I want to ask them, so I don't forget. I have the reasons I'm calling, yes, and what I need to ask them. So I may have abbreviated some questions or something, just some bullet points. Yeah, so don't forget that, and don't forget to ask them this, and don't forget to ask them that. Because sometimes, I don't know whether you find this, Alex, if you don't make notes sometimes, the very question, which is the most important, is the one you don't ask.
You don't ask, yes. Also,
and then you've realized.
I honestly do not enjoy telephone calls. It's something that I'd rather keep as short and as effective as possible, because I don't like to speak a long time on the phone. I find it very tiring, mentally tiring. So I'd rather keep things short and direct, and that's why I prepare carefully.
Yeah, so you can just go.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. Last question for this slide. What difficulties do you experience when having a phone conversation in English?
Yeah, so let's ask this to our viewers. So what difficulties do you experience when having a telephone conversation in English? Okay, that's a beautiful answer from Alessia. Okay, wonderful. So she generally uses her phone for personal calls, and instead she uses the laptop and emails and so on for work. That's a very smart thing. Normally it would be the same for myself, but given the situation, sometimes it's more direct and it avoids confusion or misunderstandings. So that's why I'm finding myself using the phone definitely more.
To be honest, I prefer to use the phone. I must probably speak. Yeah, I must probably speak too long. Maybe some people might say, but
no,
I do prefer.
I'd rather email. I'd rather keep things separate and distant.
But sometimes I
just find the phone a nuisance. I mean, I just
find it quicker sometimes. Everybody uses WhatsApp. By the time I type a WhatsApp message to find something out, I'd rather just say, "Hey, what do you think about this? Yeah, is it good?" Go. Yeah. But anyway, we're all different. Guys, any comments on that last one? From my personal experience, and guys, don't worry too much about this, because it happens to us as well as native speakers. Accents can be very, very problematic and can be very difficult when we're having a conversation in English. And there are also, maybe Alex can also comment after I finish, but there are some British accents which are quite difficult to understand, even for British people. So sometimes don't think it's because English is your second language or something, please don't. It's sometimes
I
the
have
accent.
I have problems with a lot of American accents.
Yeah.
I honestly have need some time to fine tune my understanding on the specific accent. Like I probably mentioned to you, Richard, sometimes I have problems with accents, for example, with the Indian accent. There are
Hmm.
so many varieties of English. We call them varieties, not necessarily accents. So there are so many varieties of English. English is used all over the world, and sometimes it's just you're not used to that specific variety. I had a professor in university, and she was Indian, and I swear, 9 times out of 10, I had to check with my partner if I got what she was saying right, because, and it's nothing against, the Indian accent. It was just different from my usual way of speaking and understanding the language. I'm thinking also, if you add to the variety of English maybe some connection problems, maybe just the speed at which the person is talking, then you can be seriously compromised in understanding.
Yeah.
That's, yeah, what I would think.
Any particular American accents then? Just as I'm just curious.
Well, Texas accent is like it's like really really tight, and yeah, I guess because my family comes from, let's say, the northern part of the US, then I have some problems with southern accents.
Well, for me, I was going to ask you this. The southern accents, when I've seen American television programs or even maybe some films, yes, the southern accent is quite particular, and I find it quite sometimes quite difficult. So yeah, for me, British accents. Um, I'm Welsh. I think normally a Welsh accent is quite easy to understand. As a country, the accent there, north and south, is okay. Um, Ireland, you have Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland, of course. For me, yeah. So I'm not trying to offend any Irish people or anything, but the Northern uh, Irish accent for me, I find quite difficult. The Southern seems to me to be a little bit softer, yeah. And Scotland is like
I love Scottish. I just love it. Yeah,
is like a minefield, yeah. No,
yeah,
sometimes
but it's fantastic.
yes, no, the Scottish accent also, if it's very strong, can be really really hard. And then we have certain cities like Manchester, Newcastle, and Liverpool. Okay, before we move on, should we have a quick check of the comments, because I don't want to look as if we're ignoring them, because we do appreciate you commenting, because it makes the lesson for us as well. Yes, so it's not just us speaking. So Deborah has said that when she organizes her ideas. If I phone, yes, that's good. And Alessia has. All right, if it's an exit, I'm not used to difficult.
The label, so definitely just when you're speaking on the phone, you're only using your ears to understand, and so you cannot help your comprehension by observing the lips. Sometimes that really helps especially when you have maybe a specific accent or a very fast-paced speech. Yes, I agree. That's one of the complexities of speaking on the phone. And
Uh,
also, this is,
this is a good
as
one.
yeah, as she points
Yeah.
out, um, you, especially if the conversation takes a technical um, shade, then it can be complex. And I personally love the choice of words you have in this comment. So I dread missing pivotal words. To dread means to really, how could you say, um,
Well, you don't like it in a
really
big
not
way.
like,
Yeah,
yes,
you don't
yes.
like to miss pivotal words, which are important words.
Yeah, the
Yes.
words
So,
that basically allow the comprehension. There are those keywords that make the conversation meaningful. They carry a lot of meaning. So
and
yeah, very, very well written.
yeah, and dread is a strong dislike. Yeah, and I agree, Alessia, and it's one important thing, really, maybe that we all need to think about. Last week, when we had our lesson, one of the lessons on emails, we said, think about who you are writing to, think who the target audience is. It's the same as a telephone conversation. Yes. Um, if there are certain things that I don't know about, like my IT skills are terrible, and yes, so if someone starts using all these technical words, they lose me. Yeah, you have to think sometimes, right? Who am I speaking to? What do I want to say, and how am I going to say it? Yeah.
Exactly. So the difference is when we go into technical language, we can call it jargon.
Mm.
Well, if we use a technical jargon, then we might lose the person listening on the other side. And the opposite of jargon is called lay speak, because I'm speaking to in a way that the person can understand. So we call that lay speak.
Mm. Yeah, very
Or
good.
yeah,
Like I say, choose your language. Sometimes choose the words. Yes, how you express yourselves. Um, like I said, there's no point in using long words because you think, all right, and then the person doesn't understand. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. We need to look at some exercises. So we have the next slide, which is about preparing for a telephone call. And we have Gianni Del Fume, I think, Business Development Manager at Luzzi Motors, receives a message from his secretary. And on the right of the screen is the phone message or phone messages. Sorry, guys, I need to look quite carefully. We have the date, okay, and when we actually read the date, we would read it September the 7th. Okay. You can write it like that, but when we actually pronounce it, we would say September the 7th. The time, just as a quick revision, the time there, we could say it's 2:05 or 2:05. Okay. And the message is Mr. Yamamoto from Distribution X in Japan called. Please call him back. Okay, Alex, would you
so
like to do the honors?
how should Mr. Delfume prepare for this call? Well, we can see from the message that he has a person that he needs to contact, he needs to reach. He has also an objective to call him back and to clarify, to understand why he was reached in the first place. So, what was the topic of the of Mr. Yamamoto's call? And he has an appointment, so I guess he should just schedule his time and prepare accordingly.
Okay. Let's have a look.
So here are some ideas. Research the company in the specifically distribution X. He might consider Googling the name to see who this person is. Maybe its job, its function within the company, just to probably anticipate the reasons for the call. It depends if it's a salesperson or a technical person. It might give some hints on the reason for calling. Collect notes in his diary, especially if distribution X is already a client or a supplier, maybe just to recollect his ideas on previous contacts with that same company or previous reasons for uh, maybe insatisfaction or issues with that company, maybe positive things.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, budget his time. What do we mean with budget his time, Richard?
Well, by budgeting your time, it's very similar to maybe managing your time. Yes. Okay. Think of how much time you want to spend on the phone at first. Yeah, because maybe you only have 10 minutes. You may have a meeting you may need to go to. Yeah. So when you budget your time, you allocate how much time for that telephone conversation and what maybe you want to achieve in that time. So, going back to our first slide, where Alex said that she has maybe some notes in front of her. Yes, the same again. Yeah, you may think, right, what do I need to find out from this telephone call? I need to find out this, and this. Yes. Okay.
Okay,
Perfect.
so let's move on and look at the telephone call. Well, this is how this person prepares. So I'll read. When I have to make a telephone call, I usually get a pen and paper. I also have my calendar nearby so I can check my schedule. I also like to research the person that I'm calling. What company do they work for? Are they on LinkedIn? So, is there anything new in this for you, or do you agree with his method for preparing? I must say, for speaking for myself, I do exactly the same things. I always have my calendar close by because for the job I do, I need to be sure if I have availabilities, if I have lessons, how much time I have to prepare for a lesson, who am I teaching to, and so on. So I always have my calendar very close by. I also am a physical, visual person, so I have a pen and some paper to write notes on because I remember things visually. I need to have a visual cue as an aid to my memory. And I also, like I said, tend to check who the person I'm calling to is. It just gives an idea of maybe the reason for calling, maybe the studies that that person has done. Maybe you have something in common. Maybe it's a completely technical person, so I have to prepare and so on. So I agree with everything.
Okay. Yes, more or less. I normally have a pen and paper. I don't always have my calendar nearby, to be honest.
Yeah, I
But
know, but I
yeah,
realize that it's not normal. I mean,
no, no, no.
I,
I mean,
I
but
this is
I always
like
have
my cover,
I
my
always have my phone nearby. So maybe this is worse. I don't know, but I mean, there are calendars on the phone. So um, uh, yes, I mean, to research the person that you are calling, maybe, yeah. again, it depends on the nature of the telephone call, the reason, and maybe where they work. LinkedIn, no, I have no idea about LinkedIn. Never seen it. I just know the concept of LinkedIn, but I'm not on LinkedIn. And sometimes I think if it's a follow-up call, maybe not the first call, previous correspondence, yes, previous correspondence and previous information. I sent you this letter on, so you have your
Right,
facts
yes,
in
correct.
front of you. Yes, if you want to refer to something, I didn't receive this letter. Well, actually, I know that I sent it on the da 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 da.
Yeah, very well done. Correct.
And Deborah has said here she usually tries to collect information about the person. Yes, it is useful. It's a, and again, she agrees with me.
It depends.
She's bright. It depends on the subject. Yeah, exactly. Yes, or maybe this could change slightly depending on the nature of the call.
Definitely, yes, I agree.
Okay, thanks, guys. Very good.
We have just done this, so
Yeah, we did.
if you by chance do something differently, please leave us a comment. And now let's look at the conversation. So we're going to read it for you. Of course, it's only two of us, so we're going to repeat some of the characters in this dialogue. Shall I start, Richard?
Yeah, we'll just do it alternatively, yes?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, and then, okay.
Yeah, we'll do it in turns. So, good morning, X Distribution. How may I help you?
Hello, my name is Gianni Delfume from Lutzimoto's. I'm returning Mr. Yamamoto's call.
Please hold, Mr. Delfume. I'll put you through.
Hello, this is Mr. Yamamoto.
Good morning, Mr. Yamamoto. This is Johnny Delfume.
Excuse me, who's calling, please?
Johnny Delfume from Lutzimoto's.
Ah, yes. Good morning, Mr. Delfume.
I'm calling to speak with you about a possible distribution deal.
Excuse me, Mr. Delfume. Could I call you back in 30 minutes?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Do you know what? It doesn't help when I put my glasses on with screens anymore. Yes, so I have to keep them off. Yeah. So excuse me, guys, for squinting a bit. Yes. Okay. So let's have a look at the questions.
Yes. So, number one, how does Mr. Delfume introduce himself? So look in the dialogue and look for the ways in which Mr. Delfume introduces himself. To the secretary first and to Mr. Yamamoto after.
Okay, so we have two phrases.
Shall we highlight them? Okay. So as you can see, we have hello, my name is, which is a very standard way to introduce oneself. You can also say, hello, this is Gianni Delfume, or hello, it's Gianni Delfume from Lutzimoto's. That from is very important. It says the company you're working for, sorry. So always, especially in business calls, it's useful to name the company you're calling on behalf of. This is another expression, on behalf of. So you work for a company, it's good to mention that name when you are calling in order to simplify recollecting who you are and why you are calling.
Yes, I agree completely. The worst thing is when someone rings you up and they say, hi, it's Richard Hopkins. Where are you calling from? Yeah, you have to say it's Richard Hopkins from Myes English School. Yes, okay. Maybe your job title. Yeah, they know what your position is. Same when you answer a phone. Yes, okay. Name, the name of the company maybe, or the name of the division, the department that you were working in. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and as Alex said, yes, we could say it's Gianni Delfume, or like this, or I'm Gianni Delfume. I think we're pronouncing his name correctly. I'm not sure.
Diffume, yes.
Delfume. Also, like the secretary begins, she says good morning. We could we could say good morning or good afternoon. Yes, good morning. This is Richard Hopkins from my English school.
Yes, exactly. Also for an introduction, yeah, good morning. Alessia speaking from X Distribution, or Alexandra speaking from. So just your name and who you're speaking for.
Okay.
And let's see. Let's look at number 2. How does he ask for Mr. Yamamoto? So basically, he has given the reason for calling. I'm returning Mr. Yamamoto's call. So to return a call, very well done, Deborah, means to call back because you have been called in the first place. To
Yeah.
return a call. Very well done.
You're given the reason. Yeah.
Let's look at number 3. How does Mr. Delfume explain the reason for his call? We could say that number 2 is very similar, so he's giving the reason. I'm returning Mr. Yamamoto's call, but after he says, I'm calling to speak with you about blah, blah, blah. So I'm calling to, that 2 gives the reason for the call.
Yeah, he goes into more detail. Yes, the specific reason. The first one, as Alex said, they are very similar, but the first one is why you were calling. Then I'm going to go into further detail why I'm calling. You could also use an expression using the word reason. The reason I'm calling you is because
Exactly.
yes, okay, or the reason for this call is because yeah. So you can use many different
Precisely.
phrases. And how does the call end? Okay, he says, could I call you back in 30 minutes? Okay,
Yeah.
he's very specific there. He's saying 30 minutes. Could I call you back later? Could I call you later? Yes. Is it possible to call you later? Would it be okay if I called you later? Yes. Or would it be okay if I called you at 2 o'clock?
Precisely.
Again, many possibilities we could use there.
Let's just look a few seconds more
Mm-hmm.
at this conversation, especially the opening. So the secretary says, how may I help you? This is a very nice way to ask for, to simulate, to have a person explain why they're calling. So how may I help you? And
Yeah.
after the secretary says, please hold, I'll put you through. So first of all, to hold means, could you please wait,
Yeah.
basically. Could you please hang on? I'm asking the person just to pause, maybe to wait while I transfer the call to somebody else. To put you through is a phrasal verb that means to
Transfer you. Yeah.
to transfer the call, so to connect you with somebody else, to put you through.
Yeah. They say, please hold the line. Yes, it's an expression because years ago all telephones had a line like I have on my computer here. Now it's a bit different. Sometimes it could be a mobile, but it's a lot of the time
it's the same concept. Yes.
Yeah, we still use a lot of the language we use now for mobiles is the same language that we've always used for telephones. Yes.
Exactly.
Even on a mobile now, we say, I'm going to hang up. Well, really, the action you use on a mobile is not the hang up. Years ago, the phones you would literally hang up. Yeah. So these expressions are have just stayed throughout time. Okay, very good.
So
Any more,
let's.
Alex? There?
No, I would just
I don't
look
think so.
now
No.
at some ways, some specific telephone language. So,
Okay.
as you can see here in black, we have 5 categories.
Hmm.
We have answering on the phone, giving the purpose of the call, asking for the caller's name, asking for someone, and introducing yourself. So try to associate the sentences in blue to the categories in black.
Yeah. Have a
We're,
quick look,
yeah,
guys.
we're gonna give
Yeah.
you a few seconds to
Have a
think.
quick look to see if you can just, or even just to familiarize yourself a little bit with the expressions. And as Alex said, think which letters correspond with the language. Okay.
So we're going to start from the first one on the left. Richard, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. Okay. We have the brackets because it's optional, but I'm going to use it. So the first expression is, may I ask who is calling, please? Okay. Again, yes. I mean, I wouldn't really say who is calling, please. Again,
Yes.
it's a bit direct. So,
You could say who is it? I mean, like when you answer yes, hello, who is it?
yeah,
It really depends if you're, for example, a secretary answering on behalf of somebody, or it's just your phone.
we could use a different modal there. We could use could I ask? Yeah,
Yes.
which is which is nice also. So for the first one, it's going to be they're asking for the name, so it's going to be C. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Precisely. Okay. Then let's go to the next one. I'm calling about a distribution deal. So in this case, it's B, giving the purpose of the call. A synonym for purpose is reason. Very good. Correct, Deborah. Very well done. Number 3, Richard.
I'd like to speak to Ms. White, please. Is D when you're asking for someone. So the
Mm-hmm.
person is Ms. White. That's who you want to speak to. Okay, next one.
Number 4, could I take your name, please? Could I take your name would be, again, C, asking for the caller's name.
Okay. Good morning, X distribution. So that would be answering the phone. Good morning, X distribution. Yeah, you're answering the phone.
Yes. And the same would be for Hideo Yamamoto speaking, it's answering the phone.
Okay.
Alex speaking, hello.
Yeah. Sometimes we do shorten it to speaking. Could I speak to Richard Hopkins, please? Speaking.
Speaking.
Yeah, it's okay. It's not
Yeah,
rude.
sure. No, no, no,
Yeah,
no.
I do sometimes. How can I help you? Okay, again, how can I help you? Answering the phone.
Right. Could you put me through to Mr. John Martin, please? It's basically asking for someone. Could you put me through? Could you transfer me? Could you connect me to Mr. John Martin?
Okay. I would like some information, please. B is the purpose, the reason. Okay.
Precisely. Again, I'm returning a call from Mr. Yamamoto. It's B, giving the purpose of the call.
Yes. Okay. Hello, this is Aaron Casavets.
Cassavetes. Yeah.
I don't know, from Digital Fire. Okay. This is E, where you're introducing yourself. Okay.
Yes.
And the
And
last,
finally, the last one, could or may I speak to Miss White, please? That would be D, asking for someone. So to make things easier, let's just regroup them and look at the different categories.
Okay. So first we have the category answering the phone. So just as a quick review, we could say, good morning, extra distribution. Uh, Hideo Yamamoto speaking. How can I help you? Alex?
Yes, then we have, in case we need to contact somebody specific, you can ask for, sorry, I was reading asking for someone. Let's do the asking for caller's name. May I ask, or could I ask who is calling, or who is it, basically? Could I take your name, please?
Perfect. Then we have introducing ourselves. Hello, this is Richard Hopkins. Good morning, this is Richard Hopkins. And then, as Alex said, it's very important to say maybe the company. I'm calling from Digital Fire or on behalf of, as Alex reminded us of earlier. Very good.
Then
Next.
comes asking for someone. Could I speak to Miss White, please? I'd like to speak to Miss White, please. Or could you put me through to John Martin, please?
Okay, and the last one we have is giving the purpose of the call, the reason why you are calling. I'm calling about the distribution deal. I would like some information. I am returning a call from Mr. Yamamoto. We could use again the word purpose. The purpose of this call is to find out information, or you
Right.
could use the word reason. The reason I'm calling is. Okay.
Okay, so for today we have come to an end. Thank you once again for following us, for participating. It's always so nice to see you. And we look forward to seeing you again in the next webinars.
Yeah, thank you to our regular viewers and
to the new ones as
viewers
well.
also. We do appreciate it, and we do appreciate the comments. Just to remind you, as we said last week, if you do have any questions in general about business or English that aren't related to the webinar, please ask. If we can't answer them in that particular webinar, we'll come back to you in another webinar with some answers or some ideas. So have a great Tuesday, guys, and see you soon.
Have a beautiful day. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys. Ciao. Bye.